Imagine a world so vast, its borders touch 3 continents, yet its heart is beating its last, ragged breath. 1 crown, 2 emperors, and a decision that will change the course of human history, not by conquest, but by a jagged line drawn through the center of the world. If you love stories of power, betrayal, and ancient glory, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. New Roman history drops every week. The Dying Giant. The year is 284 AD. The Roman Empire is no longer the unstoppable machine of Augustus or Trajan. It is a wounded beast, gasping for air, surrounded by scavengers. For 50 years, the crisis of the 3rd century has torn the Mediterranean apart. Plagues have hollowed out the cities. Hyperinflation has turned silver into worthless scrap. And on the frontiers, the barbarian tribes aren't just raiding, they're settling. In the span of 5 decades, 26 different men have claimed the title of emperor. Most of them met their end not in bed, but with a blade in the back or a poisoned cup of wine. To be the emperor of Rome is to have a target painted on your chest. The crown isn't a symbol of pride, it's a death sentence. Then, out of the chaos of the Balkan legions, steps a man named Diocletian. Diocletian isn't a blue-blooded aristocrat. He's the son of a former slave, a soldier who worked his way up through the brutal hierarchy of the Roman army. He is cold, pragmatic, and arguably the most brilliant administrator the ancient world has ever seen. As he stands on the hills of Nicomedia, looking out over an empire that stretches from the rain-swept moors of Britain to the sun-scorched deserts of Mesopotamia, he realizes a terrifying truth. Rome is too big to live. The logic is simple, yet devastating. If the emperor is in Gaul fighting the Franks, he cannot be in Syria fighting the Persians. Communication takes weeks. By the time a messenger reaches the capital, a province has already fallen, or a general has declared himself king. The sheer physics of the empire have become its greatest enemy. Diocletian makes a choice that would have been unthinkable to Caesar. He decides that to save the empire, he must break it. He calls for his most trusted comrade, a rough-edged soldier named Maximian. In a lavish ceremony shrouded in incense and the purple silks of royalty, Diocletian does the impossible. He takes the title of Augustus, but he bestows that same title upon Maximian. "I will rule the East," Diocletian declares. "You will rule the West." This is the birth of the diarchy, the rule of 2. Diocletian takes the wealthy, Greek-speaking, sophisticated East, setting up his capital in Nicomedia. Maximian takes the war-torn, rugged, Latin West, ruling from Mediolanum, modern-day Milan. But 2 men aren't enough to hold the line. The pressure on the borders is relentless. So, Diocletian goes even further. He creates the Tetrarchy, the rule of 4. Each Augustus will have a Caesar, a junior emperor, who acts as a son, a successor, and a general. The world is now divided into 4 quadrants. 4 armies. 4 capitals. None of them are Rome. The eternal city, the cradle of the empire, is left behind. It's too far from the action, too bogged down in old politics. The heartbeat of the empire has moved to the frontiers. For a moment, it works. The borders are reinforced. The economy begins to stabilize under Diocletian's iron fist. The 4-headed monster, as some critics call it, has brought order to the chaos. But beneath the surface of this new, divided peace, a storm is brewing. You see, the Tetrarchy relied on one thing, the absolute authority of Diocletian. He was the Iovius, the earthly representative of Jupiter. The other 3 men obeyed him because they feared him. But Diocletian is getting older. His health is failing. And for the first time in history, an emperor is planning to do something no one else has ever done voluntarily. He is going to retire. In 305 AD, Diocletian abdicates his throne, forcing Maximian to do the same. He retreats to a massive palace on the Dalmatian coast to grow cabbages. He leaves the empire in the hands of the junior Caesars, expecting the system to tick like clockwork. But the moment the master architect leaves the room, the walls start to crumble. Ambition is a poison that no system can filter out. In the West, a young, charismatic general named Constantine, the son of the Western Caesar, is watching. He doesn't want to be a quarter king. He doesn't want to share the world. The peace of the division is about to be washed away in a tide of blood, as the sons of the Tetrarchy realize that the only thing better than half an empire is the whole thing. The civil wars are coming. And as the Roman world splits at the seams, a new vision is rising in the East, one that involves a new god and a new capital that will outshine Rome itself. The dream of a peaceful transition was the first thing to die. As Diocletian tends to his cabbages in his retirement palace, the empire he tried to save is screaming. The Tetrarchy, that rule of four meant to ensure stability, has mutated into a bloody, multi-sided civil war. It is a Game of Thrones played with the lives of hundreds of thousands. In the West, Constantine is a man obsessed. He is the son of a Caesar, a warrior prince born in the military camps of the frontier. He doesn't believe in sharing power. He believes in destiny. In 312 AD, he marches his legions toward the gates of Rome itself to face his rival, Maxentius. The night before the decisive battle of the Milvian Bridge, legend says the sky itself opens up. Constantine looks into the sun and sees a sign, a cross of light, and heard the words, "In hoc signo vinces." In this sign, ye shall conquer. The next morning, the Roman eagle is replaced on the shields of his men by a new symbol, the Chiro. The ancient gods of Olympus are being shoved aside for the god of the Christians. The battle is a slaughter. Maxentius's troops are pushed back into the Tiber River, the rival emperor drowns, weighted down by his golden armor. Constantine enters Rome as the undisputed master of the West. But the East is still held by Licinius, a man just as ambitious, just as cold. For a decade, the two men play a deadly game of cat and mouse, signing treaties they have no intention of keeping. Finally, in 324 AD, the mask slips. At the Battle of Chrysopolis, Constantine crushes Licinius. For the first time in 40 years, the Roman Empire has one heart, one mind, and one master. But Constantine is a visionary, and he realizes that bold Rome is a corpse. Rome is a city of ghosts, of grumpy senators and pagan temples that no longer fit his Christian vision. He looks to the east, to the crossroads of the world. There, on the site of the ancient Greek city of Byzantium, he builds a new Rome. He calls it Constantinople. It is a fortress city, surrounded by water on three sides and protected by the most massive walls the world has ever seen. It is filled with gold, marble, and the finest treasures stripped from the temples of the old world. While the West is becoming a rugged, illiterate frontier, the East, Constantinople, is becoming the center of art, trade, and theology. The center of gravity has shifted. The Mediterranean is no longer a Roman lake, it is a divided sea. Constantine dies in 337 AD, and with him dies the last hope for a truly unified empire. He leaves the world to his three sons, who immediately begin a fratricidal bloodbath to see who can rule the ruins. The administrative line that Diocletian drew in the sand has become a permanent scar. By the late 4th century, the empire is officially split again. To the east sits the wealthy, sophisticated Greek-speaking empire. To the west sits the struggling, Latin-speaking empire, now ruling from the swamps of Ravenna because Rome is too hard to defend. And the timing of this divorce couldn't be worse. Because deep in the forests of Germania, and across the vast steppes of Central Asia, something has woken up. A shadow is moving. The barbaricum is no longer just raiding for cattle, they are fleeing for their lives. A terrifying force known as the Huns is pushing entire nations toward the Roman borders. In 378 AD, at the Battle of Adrianople, the Eastern Emperor Valens leads his army against the Goths. It is a catastrophe. The emperor is killed. The Roman army is annihilated. The invincible legions are proven to be mortal. The Goths are now inside the house. The Western Empire looks to the east for help. They beg for gold, for soldiers, for a lifeline. But the East looks at its struggling brother and makes a cold, calculated decision. They close the gates. The West is being left to die. As the Visigoths begin their march toward the city of Rome, a city that hasn't seen a foreign invader in 800 years, the world holds its breath. The eternal city is about to find out that forever is shorter than they thought. The year is 410 AD. For 800 years, the city of Rome has stood inviolate. No foreign enemy has set foot inside its walls since the days of the Gauls. It is the eternal city, the center of the universe, the place where the gods themselves promised empire without end. But at midnight, the Salarian gate is opened from the inside, perhaps by a disgruntled slave, perhaps by a traitor. The Visigoths, led by Alaric, pour into the streets. For 3 days, the city screams. Palaces are looted. Statues of old gods are smashed. The gold that was bled from the corners of the earth is packed into barbarian wagons. When the news reaches the great scholar Saint Jerome in Bethlehem, he weeps, writing, "The city which had taken the whole world was itself taken." But while Rome burns, the Eastern Empire in Constantinople is quiet. They are watching. They are praying. And they are sending just enough help to look like allies, but not enough to actually save their brothers. The division is now a chasm. The Eastern emperors have realized that the West is a sinking ship, and they have no intention of going down with it. They pay off the Huns to go west. They bribe the Goths to move toward Italy. They are survivalists, playing a game of geopolitical musical chairs, and the West is the one left without a seat. The final act of the Western Empire isn't a grand battle. It is a pathetic whimper. By 476 AD, the empire in the West is little more than the city of Ravenna and a few patches of Italian countryside. The man on the throne is a boy, ironically named Romulus Augustulus, carrying the names of both the founder of Rome and its first great emperor. He is a puppet, a child playing at being a god. A Germanic general named Odoacer walks into the palace, strips the boy of his purple robes, and sends him into retirement. Odoacer doesn't even bother calling himself emperor. He sends the imperial regalia, the crown, the scepter, the robes, in a crate to Constantinople. The message is clear: the West no longer needs an emperor. We are done. With that single act, the Western Roman Empire ceases to exist. The light goes out across Europe. The great Roman peace is replaced by a fractured landscape of warlords and ruins. The aqueducts stop flowing. The roads are reclaimed by the forest. The Latin world enters the long, cold night of the Dark Ages. But look to the east. While the West falls into shadow, Constantinople enters a golden age. This Byzantine Empire, as we call it today, doesn't think of itself as a successor. They are Romans. They speak Greek, they worship Christ, but they keep the laws of Caesar alive for another 1,000 years. Under the Emperor Justinian, they will even try to reconquer the West, briefly taking back the ruins of Rome in a bloody, Pyrrhic war of nostalgia. But you can never truly go home again. The world had changed. The division of the Roman Empire was the birth of the modern world. It created the divide between the Catholic West and the Orthodox East. It drew the maps of Europe and the Middle East that we still fight over today. It taught us that no matter how powerful a civilization seems, no matter how many legions it commands or how much gold is in its vaults, it can be destroyed by the very thing that made it great, its size. Rome didn't fall because of one barbarian invasion. It fell because it lost the ability to stand as one. It chose to break rather than to bend. As we look at the ruins of the Colosseum or the soaring domes of the Hagia Sophia, we see the shards of a broken mirror. We see a dream of unity that was too big for the human heart to hold. The Roman Empire didn't just disappear, it divided, it evolved, and in doing so, it became the foundation of everything we are today. History isn't a straight line. It's a series of choices. And in the 4th century, the choice to draw a line through the heart of the world ensured that while the empire died, its ghost would haunt us forever. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more untold stories from the ancient world. History isn't dead, it's just waiting to be told.